Hey everybody, it's Friday. That means it's Fangirl Friday. My name's Anita Castellar, and thank you for joining us one more time for Fangirl Friday for 2020. We're winding it down, but we're going to wind it down in style. I swear we're going to plow through this together. Again, thank you for joining us every week. If this is your first time, welcome, and hopefully we'll be learning a lot and having a good time. Every week we talk about fandom, but the business behind fandom, highlighting people, products, promotions, companies that are all behind the business of fandom. And we're bringing you live this week. We're bringing you Craig Drobis. Craig, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing today?
Doing very well. Thank you. So, Craig, tell us who you are and what do you do?
I'm Craig Drobis. I'm the Senior Vice President of Marketing at Jakks Pacific, and I work on both the seasonal and the boys divisions at Jakks, which is both are very broadly defined. Our seasonal business includes everything from activity tables and furniture and ball pits and tents, a lot of which are licensed from Disney and Paw Patrol and those types of brands. As well as all the way up to skateboards. We've got a Redo skateboard line that comes out. And then on the boys side of the business, also broadly defined, we've got some vehicle items, some radio control, some activity items, but a lot of it is action figure based
Wow.
as well. So lots
You
to
do
do.
a
We
lot.
stay busy.
Yeah.
We stay busy. Yes.
I didn't know anything about the skateboards. Tell us about that. That seems new.
Yes, we launched the Redo skateboard brand last fall. And so that's been a lot of fun. Worked with some people in the industry that had a long history in the skateboard business that moved us up the learning curve very quickly. So we were able to do that. And we had, just like I said, launched last fall and had a great year this year. It's been all those outdoor activities have been doing very well from a sales standpoint this year. So we got in at just the right time. And been selling very well at Target and Amazon in particular.
Yeah, I would imagine that, kids are trying to keep busy, parents are trying to keep the kids busy, especially during the lockdowns and stuff. I mean, how have you been surviving?
Just like everybody else, just trying to survive, find enough ways to keep the business moving, keep the family moving. I've got four kids that are homeschooling at the same time I am. My wife works, got a dog. So,
Yeah. You have an
we fill the
academy.
days, we fill the days. Yes,
Got your own academy going there, your own charter school.
exactly.
That's great. No, but I'm glad that everyone is safe and we're still trying to all be productive, but we'll get through it all. It'll be fine in the end. We'll all be fine in the end. So hopefully we'll be bringing some cool highlights today. I have some very fun treats that you sent to us, so we'll get through those in a second. But let's find out more about Craig. So tell us a little bit about your history and do you have specific fandoms that you particularly assign to?
I do. I have a few of my own particular fandoms, things I've liked. It's like most people, they're things that I grew up with when I
Yeah.
was young and what I watched. Justice League was one of the big shows that I
Oh, that's fun.
was always a fan of when I was little. So I always leaned a little bit on the DC side
Yeah.
of the action figure universe, or the superhero universe. But I've had a few others that I was very big in the sports side of it too. When I first started my career, I was pretty sure that I was going to end up more on the sports marketing side of things than on the toy side of things. And I actually worked at the Olympic Committee in Atlanta. It was
Oh
actually
wow, fun.
out of there working in licensing and working with the Olympic related merchandise, which is sort of how my entree into this toy world, which was the first job out of there. And I thought, like I said, I was definitely gonna go sports. I was definitely gonna go
Yeah.
sports. But then meandered around and found my way over. Actually, my boss at the Olympic Committee at the time later had gone to Mattel and brought me, asked me if I wanted to get into the toy business and work with her on licensing. And so that was how I really jumped all in on the toy business, starting at Mattel, working on the Hot Wheels business for several years, and then moved out of that business and went from little cars to big cars. I worked for an aftermarket wheels company called American Racing for
Okay.
3 years, doing marketing on full size wheels, so everything from your 18-inch wheels up to 30-inch rims. So that was a different experience, but in sort of the fandom and consumer mindset and what people do, that the car
Oh, there are a lot of
builders,
car heads.
they're
Mm-hmm.
they're 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 a passionate bunch. They're
Very.
and you find in a lot of fandoms, right? And that's been the interesting thing that I've sort of seen in the different worlds that I've played in, from whether it was sports or toys or superheroes or aftermarket wheels, it's like you find a lot of people with a lot of passions, and it's always neat to see and interact and try and understand the consumer mindset of you learn something else, and you might find that you have an affinity for whatever this is, be it a property or an activity.
And community, we talk a lot about community. It's a very common theme.
100%, is that's what it is that community. It's the, long time ago when I was growing up, you didn't necessarily know what the kid down the street, let alone the kid on the other side of the country, the other side of the world was thinking, and that you had like interests, and you had, there was, that whole someone else out there like you. And that's what the cool thing about fandom in general. Like it's a
and the internet. I mean, gosh, yes. I mean, I think that's where the explosion really came from.
Oh, 100%, right? Because it's especially when you're a kid, it's like, I feel like I'm the only one that's like this, right? And it can be anything. It can be about fandom, it can be about personal issues and concerns, and then you find out the internet has just sort of opened up the world that you see. I'm not alone, and there's a lot of comfort in that for people, and for things like fandom. That's what's cool, to find out somebody else has the same or similar passion for this show, these people, this activity. That I think is really fun about.
So fast forward, now you get to feed the fandom, right? Now, because you're at Jakks and you get to, help people live out their, their not fantasies, so to speak, but you can recreate and opportunities or things of storytelling through products like these. I mean, that's kind of fun.
Oh, yes, it's that's the great part about it, right? It's the people said, how do you get into toys, or why do you get into toys? And it's always, I had said, no matter where I'm going to go, I'm going to work hard, but I want to do something that's fun. And sometimes it's more fun to tell people you make toys than to actually do it. But it's a lot more fun. There are a lot of worse things to be doing than making toys, right? And when you combine, and I've got kids that are growing up, and they're like, there's one long night, and I was coming out at like 10 o'clock, and they're like, it's been a long day of toy fair presentations and this kind of stuff. And they're like, and my son looked at me, he goes, you really love what you do, don't you? And I was exhausted. I'm like, yes, I do. Like it's hard, and it's but you get to make toys, right?
And you get to make people happy.
And that's the other piece. You get to see sometimes, or a lot of the time, the impact you have on somebody. I've always wanted this. Like, and that's so great that you did this character, and nobody else has done that. And when you have that interaction with fans, or chats or at conventions, hopefully get back to those someday. That's a fun experience.
That'd be really great. I do miss those. I miss my con family. I'm sure everybody out there, listening probably has the same problem, but, I miss those people that I get to interact with on just a short time, or only periodic times. You keep in touch through the internet or through social media, which is great. But, there's nothing like seeing your friends in person and getting to share that passion with them, and everybody feeds off of each other. So I think it's really, sad that we're not together that way, but that's okay. Like I said, we'll all be okay in the end, and we'll be back to cons and cosplaying and watching those other people, cosplay, because I don't. But I know a bunch of people who do, and I admire them immensely for their talent. And, we'll get to be able to share that pretty soon. So, but in the meantime, we get to share some really cool projects that you're working on. This is a pre-show to a holiday week. If you haven't heard, it's almost Thanksgiving week. So letting you know that now, if you haven't been, listening or paying attention or had the TV off. But Thursday is Thanksgiving. So that means Friday is the famous or infamous Black Friday. And before a lot of people go out to shop this year, or they're, thinking about shopping on the internet, of course, please stay safe. But if you're thinking about like, what are you going to do? I don't even know what to get. I don't know what's hot. I don't know what's not hot. Like, we've got Craig here to give us the scoop. So let's go through some of the projects that you're working on now. Let's go through something like, what does Jakks, look for in particular for some of the brands that they produce? So I'll start us off. I see behind you, I see the Apex Legends, figure. Tell us a little bit more about how you guys got into Apex Legends.
Yeah, I mean, when there are a couple of things that drove us to there as we're looking what's the next property that we think is going to be turned well into a toy standpoint. We're just looking for things that have sort of that social media and social buzz to them, that have a large consumer base to them. You know, a lot of our products are sold at the mass market, being the Targets and the Walmarts and the Amazons of the world. So when we are evaluating properties, we need something with a sizable fan base, right? Unfortunately, we don't. And then there's some great companies that make some great items, but they only make 1,000 of them at a time, and that's not our business model. So when we're looking at properties, we're looking for big opportunities. And sometimes we're taking bets. It's right now a smaller opportunity, but we see some potential based off of whatever the trajectory is of that measurement. So we're looking at pop culture stuff, and we can be looking at everything from television shows to movies to video games. It's what are people interacting and playing with and discussing and have an interest in translating into toys, or having translated and buying into toys. And Apex Legends, which has been out almost for 2 years at this point. In February will be 2 years. Was one of those games that we saw out there that immediately had a very big fan base. Like right out of the gate, they're the fastest to 50 million downloads, and you could see that the passion of the people that were playing with it. Obviously, it
was kind of breaking the internet when it came out.
Exactly, and from a toy sale standpoint, everybody tries to figure out what's the next whatever, and the next in video games a lot of the times, especially as far as those types of shooter games was Fortnite. Like, what's the next Fortnite? And we didn't evaluate it like that because sometimes those things are 1 in a million, but sometimes there's an opportunity there. What we liked about Apex is the growth trajectory, but it started with a really nice collector base, and it's because it is more adult targeted, and that is a trajectory that Fortnite was on too. Like, it started older and then it worked its way down.
Right.
And so this one started older, and we thought it, like I said, it had that consumer base to it. And Jakks in general used to, back in the day, have a lot more on the collectibles, highly articulated, detailed figures side of the business. And this gave us an opportunity to go back into there for that 25 points of articulation, highly posable, lots of detail to them, just from a figural standpoint, that got us really excited. They had a nice, they've got a great story. EA and Respawn have a great marketing plan and business plan as they're building that game and where they want it to go and how they want to get more people playing it and how they're telling the stories behind the characters, because a lot of it's all about, do I care when I'm playing? Like, do I have a passion for this player or this property? And they've done a tremendous job, not just making a great game, but then telling the stories with their stories from the Outlands and those types of things to build.
Well, you have to have an emotional connection, right? So to the story, to the characters, to care enough. And then that translates into purchases, we hope, right?
Exactly. That's the plan. So from Apex, those were all sort of ticking our boxes. And then of course we had to go, pitch them on why, they needed to do toys, because there was a question, do we need to be in this business? And
really? Okay.
Where we want to spend our time and effort, because at the end of the day, they're trying to make the best game they can. And sometimes if consumer products isn't your primary focus, you just want to make the game. And anything that's deviating from that primary focus isn't necessarily considered
additive,
right? They need additive, or something that they need to do. They know they could do it. The question is when's the right time to do it? And when we went with them with our plan of how we wanted to start with, these articulated figures, and really build it for the older fan, that got them excited, and to convince them to say, all right, Jakks Pacific is the right person to help us do this. They've got a plan that meshes with ours, and can be flexible enough to move around as they introduce new characters and stories. So that was it. The first series of figures just introduced at the start of October. So this is just out.
I think we have some pictures of some figures. So we're gonna talk about that. So how'd you pick the figures that you were going for first? Like, what's the process?
Yeah, the process is, especially in a property like this, is sitting down with the licensor. So this was us and EA and Respawn saying, okay, who's the most playable? What are the people most interested in? Which are the stories that they're watching the most? And just from the quote unquote limits of our waves, you can only get so many figures in a master carton. We said we started in 3, but also squads of 3, which is how you played the game, made a lot of sense. So we said, how do we pick from there? Wraith is one of the most playable characters out there. She's highly sought after and interested in from a game standpoint. Pathfinder is actually one of our top sellers right now, or it's pushing up a little bit more, and Bloodhound also. They were three characters that again, working with them as far as what they were hearing, what they were seeing for other consumer products like t-shirts that they had out there, what the sales were. That's how we picked those three.
Yep.
So
So
I think, but it's an evolving. It is, and you try, but it's an evolving process too, because as they launch new seasons, sometimes the playability of the characters, they bring in new characters, some of that changes. And we're always, because our development timelines, can be 12 months or more, we're always a little bit behind. So we're always trying to figure out, how do we do this? But if we have to pivot, how can we, do that quickly?
It's hard when you're working in 3D products, especially in plastics and such, which takes a long time to develop, and the engineering, you have to make a bet, a long time out. You're kind of having a crystal ball, or sometimes you try to use insights, but really in the end, we're trying to make educated guesses as to what we think the fans might want. How will they buy this? How will they react to the story? Will it translate into something that we can create? So there's a lot of risk in toy development.
That can be there too, yes. Like this year, there were full-on product lines at shelf for movies that didn't get released. So there's a lot of things can happen.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's a lot. There's a lot to unpack.
It wasn't my challenge this year. I don't envy the people that had to deal with it, but that's definitely one a lot of people couldn't have seen coming up.
Well, it seems like images, stuff is going there.
Yeah, and those images that you saw of the Apex figures, that was really neat. There's another fun thing that Respawn did with us, which is we had announced our partnership, but we hadn't shown any of the products at that point. So we used that imagery, and actually they introduced it through their social channels with the Apex Legends social channels. And they drove them to our website, and that one literally did crash our website. And when we first put those out there. So that was a little fun problem we've now fixed. So we did a second debut last week with the Nessie Plush. It's the second item that we've done with the Respawn.
It's a good problem to have.
Good problem to have, exactly. Demand. Like working with lots of demand.
Absolutely. So, so you've moved from Apex into other properties. So I think let's talk about Sonic. Like, how did the whole, product line with Sonic come through? How did that come out? And which aesthetic did you use? Because that was a whole big, kind of controversy in the ether.
Yeah, I mean, so there's the classic versions of Sonic, and then there's a modern version of Sonic, and then of course we had the movie version of Sonic. This movie from this February as well.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of that's working with the licensor. What are the right executions to do with them? We had started with the those 4-inch figures that you have here. We first launched last fall, in fall of 19. Those are the articulated ones. We actually launched with some bendy figures last year.
Yeah, I should have taken him out of the package. I didn't, because he actually has a lot of articulation. 13 points this one.
Yeah. So we launched last year with some bendy figures. We wanted to do something a little bit different. It's obviously a license that had been out there before, or had been licensed from another toy company before us. So we wanted to do something a little bit different and unique for the fans, to give them a reason and interest to buy into something. But at the end of the day, we knew that the articulation was going to be the thing that the fans were going to want. So this fall is when we started launching those, waving into our 4-inch figures, the articulation to them. As well. Again, working with the licensor, the modern Sonic was the one that we wanted to launch with. When we were looking, again, this is one of those properties that when we were evaluating it, we said, how big is the fan base, right? There hadn't been a whole lot of big, called marketing beats, game launches that had really sort of been break frame and that kind of stuff. But this is when we looked at it and we said, there's always been a fandom for Sonic the Hedgehog, right? This is one of those properties that always has a fan base. And sometimes they just need to be engaged either through product or, with something new, which is we saw when we first launched our art figures, that they got very excited about what we were doing. Or from a market standpoint, either that game launches or ultimately the movie. And, obviously, the interesting thing about Sonic, and we were going right through our launch customer previews when that first trailer came out, and all the fans were like, "What's wrong with Sonic?" And you did the wrong design of him, and and Sega and Paramount did the the right thing, even though it ended up moving the movies, they redesigned it, right?
Yeah.
They basically said,
I think we have a play set too. I think there's a play set somewhere around there, a picture.
Yes, we have a Green Hill Zone play set. And so when the fans, were reacting, not necessarily positively, to the first version of the movie version of Sonic, I thought that showed, this is PG. I thought it showed a lot of balls by the Paramount guys to basically say, we have to do this right. Like, we have to get this right, and we're going to push it out from what was supposed to be an October date to a February date, and
right.
We're going to move it to Valentine's weekend, which it all, like, from a movie standpoint, was like very risky and challenging. Right. But I thought that was a great move that I think turned out for them. We were reading the story, so I'm like, this movie's really good. Like, this is a lot of fun. They've got all the right nods that the fans are going to like. As long as we get Sonic looking that they're happy with, that the fans are happy with, I don't have a problem with the movie. Like, they're not going to have an issue with it. Right. So we knew that piece of it would come together, or had a sense that it would come together. So when they got the pieces together, put that movie out there, as we love.
Did it affect your design much? Did it affect the product design as much?
It did. We had to go change a few things at the last minute. That always tends to happen from a movie standpoint, and these are a little bit more wholesale. The baby Sonic in your left hand didn't change a whole lot, so that saved us some time. But we had a larger scale plush with some sounds in it that we did have to redesign that one, and there were some tooling adjustments we had to make on a couple of other things. But lucky for Jakks, a lot of our core 4-inch figures and the 2.5-inch figures were all based off of the classic and modern versions, or the game versions of it, that we didn't have to scrap all that stuff.
So when toy collectors, or even just purchasers, regular, let's say casual fans, are looking to purchase a particular figure, and they're like, why aren't they making this version versus that version, right? Like, that's, just so everybody knows, that's kind of the behind the scenes, designing, thought process that comes into it. Sometimes you have to sprinkle in, whether if you're looking for the new version, sometimes, the toy designers or toy companies are sprinkling some of the classic designs, some of the older designs, because number one, we want to cater to everybody. We want to make sure that we don't leave anybody out of the collecting, opportunity. And then also there's a little bit of risk to mitigate. Like, if the movie moves out, we have the classic version. Some things are unforeseeable, right? Pandemics are unforeseeable. So, that's kind of some time, but risks pop up, and movie aspects pop up where things are delayed, productions are delayed. And so sometimes we want to make sure that, toy companies want to make sure that there's something out for someone to purchase and to satisfy that need that they want to participate in the brand fandom or in the hype, and that's a way to do it. So sometimes it may come a little later, and that's on purpose, and sometimes it may, because of story or what have you, you don't want to do spoilers, but also it may come a little later because of need. So, a little bit of explanation, just so, so some people can understand, like, how sometimes the figure that they're looking for, the character styling that they're looking for, is quite not ready or available. And it's not available sometimes because you can't have it available, a la the DeLorean and all the hype that's been happening there. I know that's not you guys, but that's a very real example about why that wasn't available in the beginning. So this is cool. So reasonable price points, I would imagine, right? Like, how much are these types of things?
So the plush of the 4-inch figures are $9.99, and the 2.5-inch figure to your right, that one is the $4.99.
Yeah, a great little pocket change, or stocking stuffer kind of idea. Again, we're trying to get you guys ready for Black Friday and beyond. You got a whole month and a half to maybe seek out some new ideas. So Sonic is a cool, new, fresh idea out there. Brought to you by Jakks, of course. So what do we got next? We've got other properties. We can go to Mario, because Mario has a big anniversary this year.
Yes, it does. It's the 35th anniversary of Mario, and Nintendo has done a tremendous job of building up this franchise over the last 35 years.
Yeah.
This Switch, came out 4 years ago at this point, but it continues to grow, and they've done a tremendous job as far as re-releasing new titles and keeping that platform going, even though there's going to be some more competition with the new consoles coming out this fall. The Switch is still growing and growing fast, and they're one of those.
It's family friendly.
Yes.
I think anybody can get into a Switch and kind of, muddle around. I'm a button masher myself, so I feel like I can handle a Switch, as opposed to, the combinations on a more complex version of, whatever the gaming systems are nowadays.
They strike the nice balance from a product design standpoint, particularly in the controllers, that there's enough there that you can do a whole lot, but not so much that it's overwhelming, and it's still accessible to most people, right? And it's one of the things that we love, again, from a toy standpoint on Nintendo, is because of that and because of the history, they have both the kids that are playing this, and then they've got the long-term fans and collectors that are out there too. And then from us, from a product development standpoint, you're playing in both worlds. That's kind of the best case scenario. So you've got new people constantly coming into the franchise in terms of the kids that are being introduced and that kind of thing. And then you've got the fans that are out there that continue to want to engage in it too. And so that's what, from a marketing and toy standpoint, is the great combination, and Sonic has that as well.
Yeah, that's a sweet combination, because you want to make sure you have, well, you don't want to make sure, it's great when you have a multi-generational fan base, right? Where you have some who were around for the original launch of Mario, such as those of us on the screen. Yeah. And there are those who are continuously, like you said, kind of coming in new to the Mario franchise, because the team continues to, create new stories, create new ideas, create new pieces of the IP that recruit new fans into it. And plus also us parents and those of us who are older are going to, caregivers or what have you, are going to probably introduce the next generation into the fan base of Super Mario or other brands. But in particular, 35 years is nothing to sneeze about. This is kind of, especially when it was the first video game property, which was, not at that time that it was launched, the most ideal way to launch something. Video games were not hugely popular at the time. They were kind of a risky, type of segment. People thought you still had to go straight to either, a TV show or movie or something like that. That was the traditional way of introducing brands and IPs. And here comes Mario and breaks all those molds.
Yes, and Nintendo's held him up as sort of the lead character, the lead franchise, but they've got Legend of Zelda, and they've got Metroid, and they've got new properties that keep popping up, whether it's Splatoon or Animal Crossing. So yes, the great thing is they've always held up Mario as sort of the face of the company, but they've done a tremendous job of bringing in new stories, new IP, new games in the process, and that's why there's good company.
Yeah, and
they're as successful as they are. Yeah,
and then you get to cross them over and smash. You get to play them all there. So tell us about some of this is similar to the Sonic line, right? So it's like a 3 to 4 inch figure.
So we had built the Nintendo line around the 4-inch figure scale and the 2.5-inch figure scale. And really, a couple of the reasons for that and why we didn't necessarily go to some of the bigger scales out of the gate was, frankly, just some of the, one of the key things from a Nintendo standpoint is making sure that we're accurately representing the figures. And when you're a terrible marketing person, you're looking at costs and you're saying you have to do Mario, it's like, Mario hasn't, he runs a lot, but he doesn't seem to lose any weight. So when you're trying to do him correctly, he gets to be very big than if he was more of just your traditional superhero. That's
a little around the middle.
That you can make make that superhero taller for the same cost. But obviously we knew that Mario was going to be the key one. So we sort of built this 4-inch scale with him in mind, and surrounded everything else around it, and then carried that scale forward from with Sonic and replicating that there.
I love these little ones, because then you can get like a multiple amount in there. I think they're really fun, and their pocket change, like I said, for kids to get their gift cards or what have you. So I love that. But
and that's where the 2.5-inch figure scale really was about. Like it's accumulation and that kind of stuff, and how do we make it easy to get the universe, because there are a lot of characters, there are a lot of versions of Mario out there, and both the fans, the kids, and the collectors like to keep them in a similar scale sometimes. So you want to give them that opportunity to buy deep, and then have their sort of
for you completists out there. Greg won't say it, I'll say it. For you completists out there, you get to have them all.
I understand the vertical and horizontal completists.
I know. So tell me about this one, though, because this is new.
Yes, so that's our It's a Me Mario. So it has a variety of different points of articulation in him. He's 11 inches tall, but the really unique thing about him, if you pop him in the back, is that it actually has the voice of Mario in there. So we worked with Charles Martinet, who is the voice, and got that in there. And so this is actually the first action figure that has his voice in a toy, which was very special from a standpoint, and getting them excited about it. And then having all those different touch points in there. That was one of the neat things we've done in a few different views. A lot of sounds are very iconic to Nintendo and to Super Mario. And so we try and bring those sounds into the toys, because that's part of it. I hear that brick block or the voice or the coin sound that I know exactly what that is. That's Mario. And so we try to bring those into the toys. So if you click through them, you'll get some random sounds.
Sure, I'm totally distracting you too, because I'm just like, I'm just clicking them all.
No, that's fine.
They're really fun.
And then if you put him in different poses and you push the M on the top of his hat, like if you lift both of his hands up in the air and you click the M on the top, it will unlock sounds. So only if he's in those. There you go.
Everybody knows that one.
So that was the fun thing about that our designers, then look, I get to sit here and talk about these things. Whole host of people that do actually the great work from a design and development standpoint, both here in our design teams in Los Angeles, as well as our Hong Kong development team, without whom none of this happens. Like I said, I just get to sit here and talk about the fun stuff, and they got to make the miracle.
How long did it take to design him?
It was probably about a 14-month process to make sure.
I would imagine, because the posing triggers things, right? It triggers things.
Poses, the sounds, making sure that it works properly. All those details.
I love the little soft goods here. His stretchy little jumpsuit, because he gets a little more around the middle. Maybe he eats a little too much pizza. So we all need our little stretchy pants this year in 2020. So he's got some of those going. Great articulation. What is it? Like 30 plus sounds?
Yes, there's over 30 sounds in there. And that was one of the fabric was one of the details. Our designers are fans too, right? So, when I'm, giving them direction, like, hey, we need to make it happen like this, because this is what the fans are going to respond to, or this in particular on this one, we want to make sure there was value there for the consumer, right? It's not a low price item, it's a $49.99 item, but so we wanted to make sure that it was worth it, and it had the details in there from a play value standpoint and from a consumer standpoint.
For sure. So the sounds, this is great. I think he's like one of my favorite things that you sent. I could play with him all day, because I love all the articulation that's built into him, and the sounds, and how the sounds actually get triggered. Various sounds get triggered through the posing, which is kind of neat. So, and it's all called out in the package, by the way. I see it right behind you, which is kind of cool. So you can actually show like which poses to put him into, and then you get, new various sounds. So that's pretty cool. I love him. Do you have a range of price point for him? For those who might be interested?
He's $49.99.
Okay.
You can buy him at Target, at Amazon, at Walmart.
So this would be the big gift under the tree.
Yes.
50 to $100 range is usually the big gift under the tree. So,
everything that the kid and the collector wants in a Mario.
Yeah. Or it's a grandma purchase.
Right.
But we've got some other cool stuff here. Thank you. I have a little assistant helping me out here. This is awesome. I love this too, because you get to recreate some of the iconic like gameplay scenes, and you can build out the world, which is kind of neat. I'm gonna pull this box in here just so you can see.
Yeah, that was a change we made about 2 years ago. And we've been making the Nintendo license since 2013. So we've been doing this for a while, and we've learned a lot of things from character selection to interactions with the fans and understanding what it is that they're interested in. And when we first started working on this, we made a lot of stuff, and it was all very cool stuff, but it was just like 6 different scales of Mario and this kind of thing. And we really took that step back. Like you asked the question of how fandom impacts our product development. We took the step back and said, what is the collector, like the fan and the collector, if I want a bunch of this stuff, what am I going to do, and how do I want to play with it or interact with it? And that's where we said said, look, we need the environments, the play sets, the levels. Our whole goal is to bring this game to life and allow people to recreate what they're doing on the game, on their floor, on their desk, at home. And so we said, the 2.5-inch figures we talked about being that accumulation opportunity to get a bunch of figures and to buy deep across the line. And we said, well, we need the play and display component to it. So we started adding in all of these different play sets. And we've got them a variety of different ones from $19.99 up to the Bowser's Castle at $39.99.
That's cool. I think we have pictures too. I'm showing it on the camera, but I think we have some pictures too.
And the Boo Mansion you have there is a $29.99 play set. So we've built it as a world, and kind of the vision was that train table play, right? If I had all of my world built out, what would it look like? How would I do it? What are the levels that I would want to have from a gameplay standpoint? And what are the right characters and figures that would interact and that I would want to do? And then how do I have it be unique to Mario and the Nintendo universe from a play and display standpoint? So
really fun.
That would be in Boo Mansion. And sometimes it's not always easy, especially as something as cool and intricate of what you can execute on a video game isn't always as easy to do in the physical world. But the fun thing about this one, because in the game you move around between the different levels by going in the doors. So that's what that little elevator is behind you. Right, you can pop him in one door, move the elevator around, and he will magically appear in another door, kind of like in the game. And that was
so much fun.
Fun things our design team put together.
So much fun. And then you can put him here because he's at the top of the castle. Once you get him standing up, see? Yeah, we won.
There you go. You can go.
It's fun. I love all the doors and the elevator. So much fun. Lots of play in here, but I like the fact that you guys actually are creating out, it's for kids, but it's also for adults if you want to reenact, or not reenact, but maybe recreate, a lot of the gameplay scenes that are pretty iconic. And then there's a difference too, because you get, the cool different design. Of course, there's the iconic, blue and red Mario, but then we have, Fire Mario, right? Because then, because then he powers up and turns a different color. But only, if you're playing the game, if you don't know, you're like, he's still great. He's, great color, great interaction. Instructions, I believe, say that these two actually switch. So that's kind of neat. Like the door can switch from the Boo King, and you can probably connect all these other pieces too, I would imagine. Do the actually bases connect into like a bigger world?
So the bases themselves don't connect. However, as you noted, you can pop out that door and that King Boo, and that piece that's there that you pop it into is common throughout the different play sets. So you can pull in different environmental pieces from other play sets and mix and match them if you like to create your own level, or see something neat that you want to do. And we're going to start the diorama pack, the multi-figure pack that you had there. We're going to start introducing some more of those pieces into there. There's the diorama packs too, so that I can do more on my.
So here's another one.
Yes.
This one, I have a feeling, is not leaving our house.
That has been the number one selling item within the brand for the last 3 years. It has been a tremendous success. It grows every year. It's the anti-gravity RC racer. So that's the unique and innovative thing to them, is that the wheels will splay out, and then he turns into anti-gravity mode, and then you can continue to race in there. In addition to just being a really fun, fast Mario Kart radio control car. So that, like I said,
I think our batteries are dying here because now we can't display it. Oh no. This is live, folks. This is live TV. Live streaming.
Oh, mine's in package, but
yeah, show the anti-gravity mode. There you go.
This isn't the trying. It will stay out when you're actually playing. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out which way to go. There we go.
Yeah, you're good.
So when you're playing with it and you go into the anti-gravity mode, those wheels will fix. But we did that from a try me standpoint, so you could see what was unique and different about this item. But it has been a global leader for us within the brand.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Full functionality. I swear I tested the batteries before we got on air, but this is the way it is. But it does go obviously back, forward, and actually goes sideways now with the anti-gravity mode. So when the wheels twist out here and they're flat, he looks like he's hovering like he does in the game, but then he actually goes left and right inside. It's really a lot of fun. So this is also a bigger gift, I would imagine, under the tree, right? So what's the price?
That's a $39.99 item. So he's at most retailers within the US that carry us. There's also a Luigi version of it that's online at a few customers as well, if you want to pair them and race Mario and Luigi.
And there are people who love Luigi more.
Trying to satisfy all the fans.
That's right. He's really fun though. It's like pretty hefty, well made. So I think it's really great. I mean, the box configuration is the box configuration, right? But so it's not something that you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to keep it in package, right? I mean, it's really made to be played with.
You got to play this one.
This is really a lot of fun, though. I like it. I like it a lot. And for $40, it's actually not as expensive as I thought it was going to be, quite frankly. I mean, I think that's great. It's a good value.
Actually, yeah, and we think that too, and I think that's why it continues to sell. And it's continued to sell at that price point for 4 years. Actually, I think it's been our leading item for the last 3. But
cool. So there's a whole new. I'm going to switch gears. Now, speaking of gears, I'm going to switch gears real quick, and we're going to talk about a cool new product type that I haven't seen you guys make before, but it's been kind of on trend. It seems like advent calendars are really like exploding out there in the market. Exploding is, kind of my own word, not everybody's word, but it is a trend that I've been seeing more and more. You want to tell us a little bit more about how Jakks is getting into the advent calendar market?
Yes, I think so. I think there are a couple things going on. One is, in particular, I think from a fandom standpoint, the collector has a lot more sway and influence in what's being made from toys, because they are mass market opportunities and success, where they used to be sort of smaller, and something like an advent calendar is a lot of pieces and that's a lot of tooling from an expense standpoint. But as I see, as I said, as the collector has had a bigger voice, it's brought a lot more opportunity across the board in a variety of different ways. And you see properties at Target and Walmart that you would never would have thought 10 years ago would be there, whether they're animated properties or things that might be smaller or considered smaller when we as the toy people compare it to a Marvel or a Star Wars or a DC, relatively small in that sense. And I think from an advent calendar standpoint, it's been a business that's been there. It's a traditional holiday play pattern. But it's been, I get my chocolate, or from a toy standpoint, the Lego is obviously, the Lego advent calendar is a regular seller.
It's a staple, And
there's been a couple of other ones. But as this collector and adult fan base has been looking for more things, it's made more sense. And also the internet sales have a lot to do with this, that it doesn't necessarily have to live on a retailer shelf every day in order to make financial sense.
Yeah, I think we have some pictures too of some cool new ideas that you're debuting.
That we did that, and actually that one, it came out. It wasn't necessarily that we fell into this. It came out as we were at some product development meetings on another property with Warner Brothers, and we were in a room we hadn't been in before, and they had some packaging executions up on the wall, and we were after me, and I said, well, "What's that?" And they're like, "Oh, well, we have these holiday franchises, and we have these horror franchises, and we're working on some different ways that we can bring them to life." And I said, and I was like, well, which movies are we talking about? Because these were just sort of generic. And they were like, well, on the holiday side, we've got Elf. I'm like, Elf. I'm like, I got my cotton-headed Ninny Muggin shirt on. I'm a big Elf fan. I'm like, I want to figure something out here. And then they were going through the horror, and they were like, well, Gremlins. I'm like, well, that's a holiday film. I'm going to call that a holiday film. Having Christmas, it's a holiday film.
Die Cast is a holiday film, so is Gremlins.
Right, exactly. Die Hard can break, so can Gremlins. And that was really the story. And so then it was going back with the development team and saying, okay, so if we've got these opportunities, how can we pull some of these things together and make some cool ideas? And we'd again seen what was going on in the advent calendar trend. Said let's start with some advent calendars. Like I said, Gremlins is not the one that would 10 years ago would have been made, even though it had the fan base there, didn't necessarily have the retail support, let's say, or distribution opportunity that you could do it. So that's the Buddy the Elf calendar there. So
we had some little pop-up features. I popped them out. I actually opened the first one. I don't know what's in it, but we're gonna see. I popped it. Oh, it's the North Pole. Yes. So we can actually, build it out. It's a lot of fun. And we missed a question. Actually, I'm so sorry. Sparkly the Collector. We missed a question from the last segment, which was for what's the future of the Super Mario line look like?
Awesome.
So no spoilers. Sorry. But I guess look for more options there because we've
got some things that we've been out there. Obviously, we are right now from a timeline standpoint presenting our holiday next year line to retailers. So there are a few things that I sit there and I say,
more
trust
to come.
me, when we show this one, they're going to be very excited. So I think there's a lot of fun things that will be coming in that, really building off that 2.5-inch figure world and play sets. But there are a few things that I think are going to
I'm sorry we missed that segment, but thank you for asking that question. But now we have Buddy for this year, right?
And then there's Buddy this year. Yeah. So both of these, the advent calendars, both the advent calendars and Buddy are out right now. So this was, like I said, I was the fan of Buddy. That was mine. It was just it was more of a, we got to figure something out. Like, how can we
have some photos of Buddy out and around town too.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun too. We did that from a social standpoint and just said, and the last time I was on a plane was in New York City for a New York Toy Fair in February. And I said, okay, I've got this Buddy the Elf. We know we're going to need to do some fun stuff from a marketing standpoint. Let's run around the city and start taking pictures in front of places from the movie. So went to Rockefeller Center, went to pizza place, and had him pulling up some
it's pretty fun
gum from the subway because it's not candy. So they didn't have gimbals, so I took him into Herald Square in front of Macy's. And
yeah.
So
he actually sits, so you actually can replace your elf on the shelf with your Buddy on the shelf.
I'm not allowed to say that, but you can say that all day long. That's what I would like to have.
All right, I'm going to pull the string here. Let's see.
I'm a cotton-headed nitty muggins.
Your shirt.
I just like to smile. Smiling's my favorite.
So we got a lot of cool phrases in here.
There's a fun one. Like I said, this was my passion. This was the one that I get really excited about. And it wasn't it was the arguments, which are the phrases that we're going to put in there. Like, and Warner Bros. Was awesome as far as letting us, work with the movie. And there are one or two phrases that just because of the way the sound cuts didn't work for us. So there's one in particular I wish was in there, but fun ones that we wanted in there. That it's one of those things about toys in general, and B, what I love about that movie is it just makes you smile, right? It was just that character was just about pure joy. He only saw good in everybody. Nothing was bad.
It's a lot of fun,
and that's what's it's fun about toys. It's fun about that property. So it's one of those. You show somebody that, you pull that string, and they smile, right? They know it. It's become one of those perennial holiday films that everybody watches. That's part of kicking off the holiday season for a lot of people.
That's right.
So again, in that whole sort of how big is the franchise, there's lots of Buddy the Elf stuff out there. If you go to Target right now, they've got a whole bunch of apparel and sleepwear and those types of things. And we wanted to make sure there were a couple of cool toys to accentuate the elf.
I like this part here, the way it builds out. I think that's new for me, as far as advent calendars and such, and just like a little extra added feature. I think it adds for environment, almost diorama style. So I think that's pretty neat.
And that was entirely the motivation, right? It's people tend to take them out and then display them, and so and leave them on there. I mean, if it's candy, you eat it, but if it's toys. And if it's toys and your kids aren't like mine, you try and get them to put there. My kids, I'll take them all off of there each day. But if you give them that opportunity, it's part of just the countdown play and process and anticipation, but I can show it and display it. So that was a fun one, again, picking the characters for it. But then, like I said, we did some fun things both there and on the Gremlins one as well, did it in the movie theater style. So it all pops up for the movie theater seats that you can put all of your Gremlins.
Fine. So tell us where we're going to find all of these wonderful treats.
So both of those items are at Amazon. They are at Walmart, at walmart.com. The Gremlins calendars at the same places as well. Buddy's on Target.com. So most of them are online that you can find them. And
safe shopping.
On places, exactly.
Yep. And all the Mario and all the other products that we showed here today, are they in store, online?
Absolutely. So the ones that we showed, definitely Walmart, Target, Amazon. Nintendo's very broadly distributed, so we've got it from the Myers. GameStop is a great supporter, and they've got a lot of associates too. So it's Kohl's. We've got a variety of different places that you can get that, and then internationally for those, I'm sure you get the fan base internationally. We've done a great job in Smith's in the UK and Germany.
Okay, good.
Has grown it, and then we've got Argos and Sainsbury's, and some of those key ones are out there too. So lots of places that you can find Nintendo, both online and in store when you're doing your holiday shopping.
So where can we find you online, or Jakks? Where can we find all your information?
It's Jakks Toys on Instagram and Twitter, and it's Jakks Pacific Toys on Facebook. are the best places to do that. And we are always putting out the new waves, the new items, and started to debut some things there and have some fun interactions with all these fun properties that we work on.
That's awesome. So we're coming to the end. Thank you, Craig. I really appreciate having you, like, pop in, show us all these great items. We can do some debuting of, holiday shopping here. And hopefully you all have tuned in and enjoyed this segment. Hopefully we spurred some inspiration and some creativity as well as to like how you can celebrate the holidays coming up. Advent calendars are always fun, of course, simple, easy treats. So, again, thank you for spending your time with us this week. If you want to see the segment again, we're probably going to have it next week on replay because we're all going to be off celebrating with our family the Thanksgiving holidays. But we also have our YouTube channel where we have all of the replays from all of the previous episodes. One will be going up again today. And, again, thank you, Craig, and thank you, the Jakks team, for all your great designs and all the efforts, those people behind the scenes. I want to hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. If you're in Canada and some other place of the world, have a great week. And we'll see you again next week or the week after for another Fangirl Friday Live. Thanks again for spending your time with us. Bye-bye.